Welcome to our deep dive today. It's into the habits of geniuses.
Oh, yeah. Always a fascinating topic.
We're going to be looking at excerpts from a book called The Hidden Habits of Genius.
Hmm.
It's by Craig Wright. And the question that we really want to answer is,
Yeah.
how do geniuses operate?
Right.
What makes them tick?
Right.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
can we learn from them? Can we take...
Yeah. Can we cultivate those habits ourselves?
Exactly. So, right, he looks at all sorts of different geniuses throughout history,
Well,
to like Mozart,
Hmm.
Picasso, Marie Curie. Um,
And through their stories, he tries to unpack this whole debate of nature versus nurture,
yeah, like, are these people just
right? Is it something,
born brilliant?
yeah, are they just born with this like incredible talent?
Yeah.
Or is it something that's developed through hard work and dedication?
And a lot of surprises in the book.
Yeah.
Like, did you know that Steve Jobs wasn't a straight A student?
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and that just practicing a skill over and over again doesn't necessarily make you a genius.
Right. It's not just about rote repetition.
Yeah.
It's about something more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll also touch on some of the more challenging aspects,
Right?
like the connection between genius and mental health.
Yeah.
And throughout this deep dive, we'll also give you some practical techniques
Yeah.
inspired by these geniuses that you can try out yourself.
Absolutely. Things like thinking opposite,
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
harnessing the power of relaxation,
Okay.
and really mastering concentration.
So by the end of this, you should have a fresh perspective on what makes a genius tick,
Yeah,
and maybe even some inspiration to unlock your own potential.
definitely.
So right off the bat in the
Mhm.
book,
Yeah.
Wright tries to answer that question. Are geniuses born or are they made?
Yeah, it's the age-old debate.
And it's interesting how he starts with a story about Secretariat?
Secretariat.
The racehorse.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
the legendary racehorse.
The one that won the Kentucky Derby in 1973. Okay. And he was actually there at the Derby.
Oh, wow.
And he describes watching Secretariat just dominate the race.
Yeah,
The horse's speed and power was just unbelievable. And it really made him think, like,
yeah.
are some individuals just born with exceptional abilities?
Right, like, is it purely genetic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then he contrasts that story with two brilliant painters.
Okay, who are we talking about?
Cézanne and Picasso.
Oh, interesting pairing.
Yeah, so Cézanne, he had this natural talent for art,
Okay.
but he faced years of rejection, and he had to work incredibly hard to refine his craft
Okay.
and develop his unique style.
So he really had to put in the time and effort.
Yeah, and then you have Picasso,
Uh-huh.
who is a child prodigy, just like effortless genius.
So two very different paths to extraordinary results.
Exactly, and that's where Wright brings in this idea of the 10,000-hour rule.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah, the idea that to master any field, you need to put in 10,000 hours of practice.
Right. But he's also careful to point out,
That rule has its limitations.
Okay.
It's great for honing existing skills,
Right.
but real innovation often comes from breaking free from established forms.
So it's not just about putting in the hours.
Right.
It's about how you use those hours.
Exactly.
Push boundaries.
Like anyone can learn to play scales on a piano, but it takes a special kind of genius to compose a symphony.
Right.
It reminded me of Wright's conversation with Nathan Chen.
Oh, the figure skater.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Chen believes in this idea of deliberate practice, constantly pushing boundaries, trying new techniques.
So for him, talent and hard work go hand in hand.
Yeah, they enhance each other.
That's an interesting perspective.
So moving on to chapter 2,
Okay.
Wright explores this idea of resilience,
Resilience.
bouncing back from setbacks, pursuing your passions, even when things get tough. And he uses Frida Kahlo to illustrate this.
Oh, the Mexican painter.
Yes.
Okay.
Her life was marked by a lot of physical and emotional pain. Right? She had polio as a child.
And then she was in a terrible bus accident
Yeah.
that left her with chronic pain and disabilities. But she used that pain to fuel her art,
Wow.
creating these powerful self-portraits that explored identity, suffering, and resilience.
I've seen some of her work. It's very striking.
Yeah, and there's this one painting called The Broken Column
Okay.
that really shows her strength in overcoming physical adversity.
It's amazing how she turned her challenges into a source of power.
Yeah, and Wright connects her experience to other geniuses like Thomas Edison,
Thomas Edison. Okay.
who famously said, "I have not failed.
Mm.
I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
It's that unwavering self-belief,
Yeah.
that willingness to learn from mistakes and keep going.
That seems to define a lot of geniuses.
It's a powerful message for all of us.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Embracing failure as part of the creative process
Yeah,
can be incredibly freeing.
absolutely. And this leads to an interesting point that Wright makes about overprotective parenting.
Overprotective parenting.
He talks about Operation Varsity Blues.
Oh, the college admissions scandal,
Yeah,
right? Where
yeah.
parents were doing everything to, like, shield their kids from failure.
And he argues that by removing challenges and risks,
Yeah.
we might actually be hindering kids' development of resilience and creativity.
Right. It's those moments of struggle,
Yeah.
of figuring things out independently
Yeah.
that build character and foster innovation.
He makes this fascinating comparison to experiments with rats in mazes.
Rats and mazes.
So rats that are given a safe, predictable path, they'll stick to it,
Okay.
even when there's a better, more rewarding route available.
So they become risk averse.
Exactly. They stop exploring, and he suggests that overprotected kids
Yeah.
might experience a similar kind of cognitive entrenchment,
Okay.
limiting their growth potential.
So it begs the question, how do we encourage healthy risk-taking and resilience in children
Yeah.
while still supporting them?
It's a tough balance.
It is a tough balance.
And then things get really interesting in Chapter 3.
Okay, what happens in Chapter 3?
Wright digs into originality.
Originality, okay.
Like, how did geniuses come up with these groundbreaking, world-changing ideas?
Right.
And he starts with the story behind Mary Shelley's Frankenstein,
Frankenstein.
which is a novel that's still so innovative, even though it was published in 1818.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
It explores all these things that are still relevant today, like scientific ambition.
Very prescient.
Yeah, it really challenged societal norms back then.
Yeah,
And it sparks these conversations about what it means to be human.
yeah.
But what's even more fascinating is how she came up with the idea.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
She describes having this waking dream.
A waking dream.
Yeah, during this gathering with Lord Byron and her future husband, Percy Shelley.
Oh, wow. What a group.
I know, and they were talking about all these scientific discoveries,
Yeah.
including the idea of reanimating corpses with electricity.
Wow, wow. That's pretty out there.
And that night, she had this vivid dream about a scientist creating this monstrous being.
And that's how Frankenstein was born.
Yeah.
It just shows how unpredictable inspiration can be.
Yeah, like geniuses, they just seem to tap into this wellspring of creativity that can feel almost mystical.
Yeah.
But Wright suggests that we can all cultivate a space for these aha moments. Like, how do we do that?
By embracing curiosity, engaging with different ideas,
Okay.
and allowing time for unstructured thought.
Okay.
It's about being open to new possibilities and not being afraid to let your mind wander.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, he talks about J.K. Rowling coming up with the idea for Harry Potter
Oh, yeah.
on a delayed train.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't like she sat down to brainstorm. It
Yeah.
was just pure inspiration.
Wow, just striking out of nowhere.
And it changed children's literature forever.
And that brings us to this idea of childlike wonder and playfulness,
Hmm.
which Wright explores in Chapter 4.
Oh, yeah.
He says that many geniuses retain this throughout their lives.
Mhm.
Think about Mozart's love of word games, or Einstein's famous quote, "Imagination is more important than knowledge."
It's like they never lose that sense of curiosity and wonder
Exactly.
that we all have as children.
And there's this concept called neoteny.
Neoteny.
Yeah, it's the retention of juvenile characteristics into adulthood.
Okay.
And it's especially pronounced in humans,
Yeah.
and it might actually be key to our creativity.
Interesting how so.
Well, children are naturally curious and
Yeah.
playful
Yeah.
and imaginative. They're always asking why
Yeah.
and exploring the world with wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And geniuses seem to hold on to that,
Yeah.
allowing them to see the world with fresh eyes.
He even brings up Mickey Mouse as an example.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, apparently this evolutionary biologist, Stephen Jay Gould,
Okay.
wrote about how Mickey's features have become more childlike over time.
Oh, really?
Like larger eyes, a rounder head.
Hmm.
And Gould suggests that this reflects our own neotenous tendencies as humans. We're drawn to those childlike features
Yeah.
because they tap into something fundamental about us.
That's a fascinating idea.
And Wright points out that this childlike imagination isn't about being silly.
Right.
It's a powerful tool for problem solving and innovation.
Okay.
By looking at the world with fresh eyes, we can challenge assumptions,
Yeah.
see connections that others miss,
Uh-huh.
and come up with truly original solutions.
So it's about retaining that sense of wonder.
Yeah, and he connects this to Queen Elizabeth I
Queen Elizabeth. Oh,
and her love for knowledge.
okay.
She continued learning throughout her life, seeing education as an ongoing process,
Hmm?
not something that ends with formal schooling.
Lifelong learning,
Yeah?
right? And that insatiable curiosity is a recurring theme in the book.
Yeah.
He profiles Leonardo da Vinci,
Uh,
who filled thousands of pages with notes and sketches on everything from anatomy to astronomy.
wow.
And then there's Benjamin Franklin, whose experiments with electricity led
Yeah.
to groundbreaking discoveries.
It's like these geniuses were driven by this deep desire to understand how things worked,
Yeah,
fearlessly pursuing their interests across disciplines.
it's so inspiring.
It is.
It's a reminder that learning is a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah,
It's never too late to explore new passions.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like they see the world as this giant puzzle, and they're constantly searching for the missing pieces.
Hmm.
And that brings us to chapter 6, where Wright explores the power of passion.
Okay.
He argues that geniuses are driven by this intense love for their work,
Okay.
almost to the point of obsession.
Hmm.
He uses Isaac Newton as a great example.
Isaac Newton, okay.
He was known for being quite solitary, almost reclusive,
Yeah.
spending days locked away in his rooms at Cambridge,
Mm.
completely absorbed in his research.
Wow, just totally immersed.
Yeah, and Newton's passion for understanding the laws of physics
Yeah.
led to some groundbreaking discoveries that revolutionized our understanding of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But what's fascinating is that Newton also had this hidden passion.
Oh, really? What was that? He was deeply interested in alchemy,
Alchemy.
which was considered a bit fringe even back then.
Yeah.
He spent years experimenting with chemical transmutation,
Huh.
searching for the legendary philosopher's stone
The Philosopher's Stone.
that was said to grant immortality and the ability to turn lead into gold.
Wow.
So it's almost like there's this missing piece driving a lot of these geniuses,
Yeah.
this force that fuels their curiosity and pushes them to explore the unknown.
And it's not always a passion that society recognizes or celebrates.
Right. Sometimes it's a hidden obsession that propels them forward.
So it's more than just talent.
Yeah.
It's this inner drive.
Absolutely. And this obsession often manifests as a relentless work ethic.
Okay.
Look at Thomas Edison, the prolific inventor.
Yeah.
He'd often sleep only a few hours a night, driven by this insatiable desire to create and innovate. He even said, "I don't care so much about making my fortune as I do for getting ahead of the other fellows."
So there's that competitive spirit again. Yeah, but Wright also points out the potential downsides of this intense passion.
Okay, like what?
Well, Edison, for example, could be quite ruthless in his pursuit of success.
I really?
He was known for appropriating ideas from competitors
Hmm.
and even used some questionable tactics to discredit his rivals.
So it's like genius can be a double-edged sword.
Exactly the same qualities that drive innovation and creativity can also lead to destructive behaviors.
This makes me think of Chapter 7,
Okay.
where Wright tackles the complex relationship between genius and mental illness.
Oh, that's a tough one.
He looks at the lives of artists like Vincent van Gogh,
Vincent van Gogh.
who battled severe mental health issues throughout his life.
Right, his letters to his brother Theo
Mm-hmm.
offer this glimpse into his inner turmoil.
Yeah.
He struggled with bouts of depression, anxiety, and possibly bipolar disorder.
Hmm.
And his paintings, with their swirling brushstrokes and vivid colors, often reflect his intense emotional state.
It's heartbreaking, but there's this undeniable connection between his struggles and his artistic genius.
Yeah, and Wright explores this connection further through Beethoven,
Beethoven.
who started losing his hearing in his late 20s
Wow,
and eventually became completely deaf.
that's incredible.
It had a profound impact on his music.
Yeah.
Beethoven had to compose internally, relying on his inner ear to create those incredible symphonies and sonatas.
Hmm.
And some music historians believe that his deafness actually freed him from traditional musical forms,
Okay.
allowing him to explore new and innovative soundscapes.
It's amazing to think that a disability could be a catalyst for creativity.
Yeah, and Wright uses other examples too.
I like who?
He talks about Chuck Close,
Chuck
a
Close.
contemporary artist with prosopagnosia.
Prosopagnosia.
It's a condition that makes it difficult to recognize faces.
Oh, wow.
And Close developed this unique style of portraiture,
Mm-hmm.
breaking down images into a grid of small abstract units.
Mm.
And he meticulously paints each unit, gradually building the image.
Wow.
And this process, born out of his disability, led to these incredibly detailed portraits
Hmm.
that challenge our perception of what a portrait can be.
It's like these geniuses turn their challenges into strengths.
Exactly.
Finding these creative workarounds that lead them to uncharted artistic territories.
And this connects to Wright's point about the potential benefits of embracing neurodiversity.
Neurodiversity, okay.
He discusses Robin Williams, the brilliant comedian and actor who is said to have had ADHD.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Williams was known for his quick wit.
Uh-huh.
And his ability to jump between seemingly unrelated ideas
Yeah.
in this rapid-fire way.
Yeah.
And his comedic genius was fueled by that hyperactive energy.
Right.
And Wright highlights that while ADHD can present challenges in certain contexts,
Sure.
it can also be a source of creativity and innovation.
Okay.
People with ADHD often excel at thinking outside the box, seeing connections others miss,
Uh-huh.
and approaching problems from unconventional angles.
So there's no one-size-fits-all definition of intelligence or giftedness.
Exactly. There are many ways of thinking and learning.
Yeah.
And what might be seen as a weakness in one context can be a strength in another.
And this leads to Chapter 8.
Okay.
Where Wright explores the rebellious nature of genius.
The rebellious nature of genius.
He argues that geniuses are often nonconformists, challenging established norms and pushing boundaries.
Makes sense.
It's that willingness to question authority and think differently that allows them to see the world in a new light and come up with these groundbreaking ideas.
I bet he uses some compelling examples here.
He does. He talks about Galileo,
Okay.
who challenged the prevailing view that the Earth was the center of the universe.
Right.
And his ideas met with a lot of resistance from the church.
Yeah.
But he stood by his convictions even when it meant risking his freedom. Wow, that took serious courage.
It did, and I'm sure there are countless other examples of geniuses facing pushback for their unconventional thinking.
Absolutely. Like, think about Martin Luther.
Martin Luther, okay.
Who challenged the Catholic Church, sparking the Protestant Reformation. Or Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol, yeah.
Who turned everyday objects like soup pans into iconic art.
Right.
Blurring the lines between high art and popular culture.
These individuals weren't afraid to break the rules or go against the status quo.
Even if it meant facing criticism.
It's that rebellious spirit that often drives progress.
Yeah.
Forcing us to re-examine our assumptions and embrace new ways of thinking.
It seems like taking risks is a common thread among geniuses.
You're right. In Chapter 9, Wright talks about risk-taking as a key characteristic of genius.
Okay.
He profiles Marie Curie.
Marie Curie.
Who faced immense challenges as a woman in science.
Yeah.
In the early 20th century.
It was a different time.
She had to fight for access to education and research opportunities. And she conducted her groundbreaking research on radioactivity in a makeshift lab with limited resources.
And her work, which led to the discovery of polonium and radium, was incredibly dangerous.
It ultimately led to her death from plastic anemia.
But her willingness to take those risks revolutionized our understanding of the atom.
She did.
And paved the way for new cancer treatments.
She had a vision, and she pursued it despite the risks.
Are there any other examples of risk takers in the book?
He looks at entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, okay.
Who quit a stable job to start Amazon.
Amazon.
An online bookstore that was seen as a pretty risky venture at the time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But he bet big on the future of e-commerce.
Uh-huh.
And that gamble paid off.
It did.
Transforming how we shop and consume information.
It seems like these risk takers, they often have this vision of the future that others don't yet see.
They're willing to bet on their ideas even when the odds are stacked against them.
Exactly. And it's not just about blind faith.
Right.
It's about having a unique combination of focus and a willingness to explore seemingly unrelated ideas.
Yeah, this brings us to Chapter 10, where Wright introduces this concept of thinking opposite.
Thinking opposite.
He argues that geniuses can often see solutions that others miss.
Okay.
By approaching problems from unconventional angles.
Well, they flip the script.
Precisely. Wright talks about Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus.
Who set out to find a westward route to the East Indies. This counterintuitive idea led to the discovery of the Americas.
Wow.
And then there's Edward Jenner.
Okay.
Who developed the first vaccine for smallpox.
Smallpox.
By injecting people with cowpox.
Cowpox.
A related but less dangerous disease. So it's fascinating how thinking differently can lead to such breakthroughs.
Are there any practical techniques for thinking opposite?
He discusses the power of working backward.
Working backward.
You start with a desired outcome.
Okay.
And then figure out the steps needed to get there.
Okay.
This approach can be especially effective in problem solving. because it forces you to think creatively
Yeah.
and consider all possible options.
Interesting.
It's a popular approach in business,
Okay.
particularly in product development.
So instead of starting with the problem, you start with the solution
Right.
and work your way back.
It can lead to insights you might not have discovered otherwise.
You're moving on.
Yeah.
Wright also explores the role of humor in genius.
Humor. Okay.
He argues that geniuses often have a keen sense of irony and can see the absurdity in everyday situations.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, think about comedians like Chris Rock,
Chris Rock.
who uses humor to address complex social issues.
Right.
Or writers like Jane Austen,
In Austin, okay.
whose novels are full of witty observations about human nature and society.
Humor can be a powerful tool.
It can.
It can disarm audiences,
Yes.
challenge assumptions, and make difficult subjects more approachable.
And it's often a sign of intelligence.
Yeah.
The ability to see the world from multiple perspectives
Ah.
and appreciate the absurdity of it all.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
a reminder that even in serious pursuits,
Yeah.
a sense of humor can be invaluable. Now, shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
Wright discusses the importance of preparation in Chapter 11.
Preparation.
He argues that geniuses are often meticulous planners
Okay.
who lay the groundwork for their success through careful observation, research, and experimentation.
So it's not just about raw talent or flashes of brilliance.
Right. There's a lot of hard work and preparation that goes into it.
Like what kind of preparation?
Well, Wright uses the example of Louis Pasteur,
Louis Pasteur.
the French chemist and microbiologist
Okay.
who developed the germ theory of disease and pioneered pasteurization.
Wow.
Pasteur was known for his meticulous laboratory techniques and his rigorous approach to experimentation.
Okay.
He believed that success in science wasn't about luck,
Mm.
but about careful planning and hard work.
And this emphasis on preparation is evident in the lives of many other geniuses.
Yes, think of Leonardo da Vinci,
Leonardo da Vinci.
who filled thousands of pages with anatomical drawings and sketches of inventions.
Wow.
Or Steve Jobs,
Jobs.
who was obsessed with product design, spending hours refining prototypes and pushing his team to achieve perfection. These geniuses understood that bringing a brilliant idea to life required discipline and a strong work ethic.
So it's like there's this underlying theme of preparation being a key ingredient in the recipe for genius.
Absolutely.
Well,
But then Wright takes us deeper in Chapter 12.
Okay.
He explores this idea of obsession.
Obsession.
He argues that geniuses are often consumed by a singular focus, like this passion for their work that can really take over their lives.
Okay. Anyone in particular?
He uses Pablo Picasso as an example.
Oh, Picasso.
Yeah, he was incredibly demanding in his personal relationships, often using the women in his life as muses for his art,
Yeah.
but also causing them a lot of emotional turmoil.
Yeah.
His obsession with his art was all-consuming, driving him to work for hours on end.
So it's like a double-edged sword.
Exactly. There's this potential dark side to this level of dedication.
Right. You can get so focused on your work that you neglect other aspects of your life.
Yeah, and Wright also discusses the obsessive nature of some entrepreneurs, like Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, the founder of Facebook.
Exactly. His vision was to connect the world, and he pursued it relentlessly, sometimes pushing ethical boundaries and prioritizing growth over privacy.
So his obsession with Facebook has really impacted all of our lives.
Yeah, in both positive and negative ways.
Definitely, it raises questions about the unintended consequences of these all-consuming passions.
Right, like how do you harness that drive and focus without letting it become destructive?
It's a tough question.
It is, but then in Chapter 13, Wright introduces a surprising element.
Okay, what's that?
Relaxation.
Relaxation.
He argues that geniuses often benefit from stepping away from their work, allowing their minds to wander and make unexpected connections.
Okay, I can see that.
He talks about the power of sleep and dreams, citing research that suggests that REM sleep can boost creativity and problem solving.
Interesting.
Many discoveries and inventions have been inspired by dreams.
Really? Like what?
From the structure of the benzene molecule to the melody for the Beatles' Yesterday.
Wow, I never knew that.
So those moments when we're not actively working can actually be incredibly productive.
So it's like giving your mind a break can actually help you come up with better ideas.
Exactly. And Wright suggests incorporating relaxation and downtime into our lives.
Okay, what are some ways we can do that?
Well, whether it's taking a walk in nature, listening to music, or just daydreaming.
Yeah.
These breaks can be really restorative and spark new ideas.
He even talks about taking showers.
Showers?
Yeah, he says that a lot of people have aha moments in the shower, maybe because the warm water and the rhythmic sound create this relaxing contemplative state.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the best ideas come when we're not forcing them.
Yeah, just letting go.
It's about giving ourselves permission to relax and let our minds wander.
And finally, in chapter 14, Wright tackles concentration.
Concentration, okay.
He argues that geniuses often possess this laser-like focus, shutting out distractions and immersing themselves in their work.
He profiles Stephen Hawking, the brilliant physicist who was diagnosed with ALS
Right.
and gradually lost the ability to move and speak. But despite these incredible challenges, Hawking made groundbreaking contributions to our understanding of black holes and the universe.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's a testament to the power of the human mind to overcome obstacles.
It really is.
His ability to focus, to shut out all distractions and concentrate on his research,
Yeah.
it's incredibly inspiring.
And Wright suggests that we can all improve our concentration
How?
by setting aside dedicated time for focused work,
Okay.
minimizing distractions,
Yeah.
and practicing mindfulness.
So basically creating an environment that allows us to be fully present and engaged in what we're doing.
Exactly. So what does all of this mean for us?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that geniuses aren't born, they're made.
Yeah, through a mix of talent, dedication, and maybe a bit of luck.
Right. It challenges that traditional view of genius as this fixed trait.
Yeah.
These hidden habits or practices that anyone can adopt.
Whether it's embracing curiosity, cultivating resilience, thinking outside the box.
There's a lot we can learn from these extraordinary individuals.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder which of these habits resonates with you most strongly.
Yeah,
And how could you maybe experiment with it in your own life?
that's something to think about.
Because remember, genius isn't just about groundbreaking achievements. It's about pushing boundaries, challenging conventions, and pursuing your passions with relentless curiosity.
And as we've learned, it's also about embracing those everyday moments, the walks, the showers, the daydreams,
Yeah.
where inspiration can strike unexpectedly. You never know what brilliant ideas might be waiting to surface.